Back again with another video. This just in: conservative public influencer by the name of Charlie Kirk was shot and killed, apparently, at a rally in Utah, I believe. It was a speaking engagement, I guess he had. He was going to go on a 14-city tour, and that was the first stop at a university in Utah, and apparently somebody shot him, y'all. So let's break it down. Well, yeah, this is the type of world we live in. Now, me personally, I don't know too much about Charlie Kirk or his views, although I did see clips from time to time again on YouTube. It'll show up on the feed, and it'll usually be him probably like dispelling certain type of, I would say, left wing or woke notions regarding society and certain rules and laws. So, as we see, it probably was politically based. Now, I know the state of Utah is Republican for the most part, but then, you got different variables. If, in fact, it was even from that direction. Utah also is, heavy with the Mormons. So who knows? It's definitely too early to speculate. I know they did had one suspect in custody, but to turn to find out he had nothing to do with it. I believe the Zen character or whatever. So that's not the guy apparently. But yeah, man, this is the world we live in. Although probably I wouldn't have agreed with most or any of his views, I'm not cool. I'm not with that, because that can easily be in somebody on the other end or other viewpoint, not even necessarily the left, but just on a different viewpoint or different understanding. To that extent, it's quite unfortunate, because again, that could be any of us, especially up here speaking. But that does go to show that, as me being African American, I already know, definitely people die for what they believe in, whether they knew that was the cost or not. And in this case, that's what apparently just happened, because we definitely know it was motivated by his views. And again, I probably wouldn't agree with none of his views. I probably would have wanted to kick his ass. But again, I'm not with all this random shit. Nah, hell no. That ain't how we getting down. So, just to say that, because all this gonna serve to do is just more laws gonna be created, and it just seems like it's just gonna really, the dial gonna get turned up on us all. Like now I'm hearing, due to this, they kind of saying like, well, we don't really want to have these controversial figures even speaking in open spaces. Which, I mean, understandably so, give or take that what just happened. So, again, it's just going to be more constraints as a result. But yeah, this is the world we living in, man. There's a lot of going on, man. It's basically a revolution of sorts taking place right in front of you. A lot of changes have been took place in America without you even knowing, without you even realizing, and it's constantly happening. And it's not as black and white as it used to be. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of variables, a lot of hidden players, a lot of different reasons, a lot of different motives. And those motives was already been there, but we starting to see now. Again, it ain't just black and white, this team against that team. Nah, it's teams, sub-teams, you got back doors, you got all that. You got all kind of stuff. You got for hire, you got what they call it, mercenary subgroups, and all sorts of the like. But this is what I make of it. I mean, there are people out there ready to kill and die for what they believe in. Unfortunately, there's nothing wrong with being willing to die for what you believe in, but then you got people willing to kill you for that. So, and this is what we're seeing. This basically looks like an assassination. No different than Dr. King, Malcolm X, Huey Newton, and plenty others. These are hits. These ain't, red rums. Whether if it was just a lone shooter or from a group, an organized group, it's, hey, somebody tagged me for whatever reason. Now, of course, people who don't probably necessarily agree with Charlie Kirk ain't gonna lose no sleep. They may, people gonna have something to say, like, see how I feel, this and that, and whatever, but, I ain't gotta say nothing. I ain't with that because, again, I haven't heard all this material, so I don't know if I would agree or disagree with him. And even if I didn't agree with him, I ain't about to go that far. Nah. I'm just gonna find better viewpoints. And that was, the theme of his thing was prove me wrong. And I would, if I disagreed with something on him, I would have just proved him wrong. I'm not gonna go as far as doing all that. What just happened? Hell nah. It's just, and y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Or so whether you, in fact, even heard of Charlie Kirk, and how do you feel, whether you agree or disagree with some of his viewpoints. Because I can see how some people, even though, see, this is the thing, because me being African American, people tend to think because you African American, you Democrat or whatever. Because we was taught that Democrats is for the poor and Republicans for the rich. So most of us was poor, so we gonna naturally think the Democrats fight for the poor, although that don't necessarily mean what that means. So as we get older, you start understanding, seeing certain laws and stuff, then you start really gaining your footing and figure out exactly where you stand on certain stuff. And most of us, as it turns out, are as liberal on certain views and conservative on others. So not just fully across the board. No, we ain't. And this is one of the reasons why Trump won, in my opinion, this election. Because a lot of us, we definitely came up poor, underclass. So in that respect, we was democratic for the people. But on certain rules and how we live and culturally, we conservative on certain values. Like, and that's what I think in this day and age, man, that won out. Because right now it's time to be a little bit conservative on a lot of things, on a few things. Not everything, but it's time to be conservative on a few things. And this is what's going on. Now, not in this case, but I'm just being a general view. This is why Trump won. This is why a lot of these laws is coming into place. Now, it's definitely pros and cons to everything. Definitely. But this was just me outlining how a lot of people that look like me may agree with people that may look like Charlie Kirk or supposedly represent what he represented, how we may agree on certain viewpoints and totally disagree on others. Very so. Yeah, hell yeah, very likely. Easily. So, me personally, I'm not either or. Again, I'm liberal on certain views and conservative on others. Y'all call it how y'all want. You understand? I vote for myself every election, I'm trying to get in a position to where it won't affect you as much as far as who in office. You want certain principled, foundational laws and rules and positions established that way, regardless to who's elected after that. Don't matter. As long as that's taken care of, we okay. You know what I'm saying? We can be fluid on all that other stuff. But these certain, not even bare minimums, but just certain core values, it's all good. But this is just to fill y'all in on the latest, man. That's quite unfortunate, man, that anybody, man, out there speaking what they believe in, as long as it wasn't no weird stuff, and he wasn't preaching no weird stuff. It may have been a conservative viewpoint, which a lot of it I probably don't agree with, but I don't condone that. If anything, he should have just proved his ass wrong, But hey, Obviously, this ain't a perfect world, man, and for whatever reason, you got people who willing to do certain things for whatever reason. And they're probably going to eventually locate the suspect, and then we'll go from there. Then we can actually see if this was on some individualism, on a person that just didn't like him that much and was like, well, when he come to my area, I'm going to have at him. Or this was part of some coordinated, you know what I mean, political motivational, you know what I'm saying, direction, you know, who knows, you know what I'm saying. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. It's Bad News Brand. I'm breaking it down real quick for y'all.